Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. In today's lesson, guys, we're going over the death of the Justice League. Now, I know that I said I wasn't going to be reviewing this issue, but considering that a lot of people have been talking about it, and I myself went and read it after all, decided to give my thoughts on it, and even though I might not enjoy it, thought I might as well give my thoughts on the overall issue in general. And as we know, they'll eventually come back in the future, and I want to see how that's going to compare to how they went out. So, going in and jumping into Justice League issue 75, Death of the Justice League, it basically starts off with the Justice League being teleported, similar to how they were in Crisis on Infinite Earths, the original storyline from 1985 DC Comics. And they basically all are chosen, and the person that summons them to, I think it's like this place of heroes, the House of Heroes, home of the Justice League Incarnate, is the President Superman from I think it's Earth 22. And he basically tells us that Darkseid and a bunch of villains have been brought together by the Great Darkness, as being like possessed by the Great Darkness, to basically try to bring destruction to the Justice League and I guess the whole universe in general. So once they basically all get teleported to where the Great Darkness is, or is supposed to be, as well as his Dark Army. This is where we're shown that Pariah from the Crisis on Infinite Earths event from 1985 is basically back, and he's being powered through by, I think, the Great Darkness, who's using his power through Pariah, it seems, if I'm reading this right. And he has the antimatter chamber, which I guess is supposed to be similar to the antimatter cannon from Crisis on Infinite Earths. You see a lot of parallels from that story and this story as you're reading through it. We get introduced to, the Dark Army, as Pariah basically says, my Dark Army, and announces them. And we get to see a lot of familiar villains in this Rogues Gallery, basically, of villains. And they basically have a battle with the Justice League. Now, Green Arrow basically tells Black Canary that he's going to try taking out the antimatter chamber. So all of the Justice League are basically facing off against this group of villains, and eventually, after a ton of different action scenes, we get to see that it's told to us through dialogue that the villains basically are not as strong as their previous selves, because they're being controlled through the Great Darkness, possessing them instead of them using their own powers freely. So they can't, I guess the Great Darkness can't use their powers at full strength, so it's giving the heroes a chance to be able to beat all these villains, all together. And we see Black Adam basically show up, and he tries to fight against Darkseid. He has a really cool scene where he uses his lightning thunder powers to basically hit Darkseid and actually knocks Darkseid backwards, showing that Darkseid is weaker than his usual self. He actually says that their only chance for survival is basically to try to get them to be not possessed by the Great Darkness. And this is where Darkseid Omega beams Black Adam, and Black Adam does survive this. We get to see the Spectre show up as he faces off against John Stewart. John Stewart basically gets killed, and he isn't the only hero to die, as Green Arrow basically shoots one of his arrows and destroys the antimatter chamber as Pariah is about to activate it. And once, Oliver, Queen basically is like celebrating, he gets attacked, surprise attacked by Doomsday, and Doomsday kills Oliver Queen. And Black Canary's there to witness it, and she holds, Ollie as he dies, and it's a pretty sad moment, but, like most people say, most of these characters will be coming back pretty soon. If they do not bring Green Arrow back for, let's say, a couple years, then it'll have way more impact, but we'll have to wait and see how the Dark Crisis event ends, and if they're going to bring Oliver back or not. But if not, then this will actually be a good scene, so we'll have to wait and judge it, which is kind of sad that that's the case that we have to do for these type of comic events, but that's just how mainstream comics are, and will probably always be. So anyway, jumping forward, we do get to see that the Trinity basically go to attack Pariah, and Pariah unleashes the power of the Great Darkness, I'm guessing. That's, kind of like channeling through him, and he tries to erase Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Now, this is a panel that's basically a homage to the Flash's death in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Again, it seems like, as other people have mentioned as well in their reviews, that they basically rely on Crisis on Infinite Earths too much and on nostalgia nostalgia to basically sell this to us, this like pre-event to us, and it just doesn't really work. It doesn't have the same effect because there was no build-up to this moment. As Crisis on Infinite Earths was a 12-issue storyline that built up Barry Allen's heroics and then eventual death scene that had an impact for like 20-something years. He was gone or something like that. And this just doesn't have the same impact, but overall really well done art in this issue, and it is a good page. It just has no emotional impact or anything like that. Even from a story impact, it doesn't really have anything. But they basically get erased or time displaced. I'm kind of leaning towards time displaced or sent to another like plane / dimension or like little pocket dimension or something like that. That's what I'm thinking is actually going to be revealed for all these members of Justice League, and that they weren't really killed, but instead, just like, time displaced or put in a pocket dimension. I'm calling it now. So the issue basically ends with Pariah getting attacked by Black Adam, who calls him, a murderer, and that he's gonna die for his sins, murder. And he basically tries to punch Pariah, but Pariah basically taints his attacks, his punches, and says that he's survived the deaths of Infinite Earths, and that you think a punch from a false god hurt me. And he knocks Black Adam away, basically, and he tries to erase everyone, and the only one that survives this erasure, or like I said, if it's going to be a time displacement or pocket dimension that they were all sent to, Black Adam escapes this by using his Shazam power and knocking Pariah away with the lightning that he has, which just shows the amount of power that he has. That or Pariah was weakened after using that erasure / time displacement / pocket dimension technique, whatever that is, that power that he has. But he basically gets knocked away as well as Black Adam. And like I said, the issue ends with Superman's son, John Kent, and I guess it's supposed to be Barry Allen, basically with Naomi, and I forgot who the ape's name is, and Firestorm, and they basically realize that someone has just crashed into the headquarters of the JLA, I'm guessing, and they basically go to check it out, Superman and Flash, and they find Black Adam there, saying that the Justice League are dead, and this is where we see Superman, Flash, and Naomi basically surprised to see Black Adam as he utters these words, and it says, "To be continued in Dark Crisis #1. So, I might cover Dark Crisis on the channel. Overall, that's how Justice League number 75, The Death of Justice League, ends, and it's not a horrible issue, but it just didn't have any impact, as a lot of people have been saying. It's not the worst thing written, but at the same time, it definitely should have been a lot better. But Dark Crisis is supposed to be this big event about bringing the Justice League back, so it's just something that doesn't have a lot of impact. It's not going to have a lot of impact because of DC saying that all the superheroes were going to be coming back. It's just a really bad overall storyline that they're going into. Dark Crisis, hopefully it's better. Hopefully it's better than this. There's a little bit of faith that it might be good, considering the people that are on it. I think Joshua Williamson is on Dark Crisis writing, and he's a very good writer. As we could tell from this issue, it wasn't his fault this stuff wasn't built up. He did the best he could with a single issue. Overall, we have seen single issue stories be amazing. So it's not a complete excuse, but at the same time, I understand why it didn't have the same impact that Crisis on Infinite Earths had, being a full-on 12-issue miniseries. But hopefully Dark Crisis, I don't know how many issues it's supposed to run for. My guess is going to be like 12 issues, similar to Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I think Infinite Crisis went for like 6, and Final Crisis went for like 8 or 12, and then Darkseid War went for like 2 parts, which is like 12 issues, I think, or 10 issues. So yeah, I don't know how long Dark Crisis is going to be, but hopefully it's long enough to give some good development for the future cast, as well as when you bring the heroes back, they have more development to those characters, and they can go off on their own books and bring the original Justice League and have them back in their original books. And I have heard that Batman and Superman's books are not going to be getting affected, or Wonder Woman's books. So I don't really understand what this whole event is for, if it's not going to affect anything, but hopefully Dark Crisis is not the crisis that they have been building up for years, which, has been building up for like 3 or 4 years, I think. Hopefully this is an end. This is just like a pre-crisis for the actual real crisis event that's going to give us the next full reboot for the DC Universe, or, just something big to set up the next stage of DC's continuity for the next like 10 years or so, next decade or so, decade plus or so. But yeah, overall, if you enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. We will probably cover Dark Crisis #1, and depending if it's good or bad, I will be covering that mini series when it's coming out. And we are going to be checking out the new Spider-Man issue that came out since John Romita Jr. started his run, I heard. So I definitely need to make videos catching up on the Ned Spencer run, but we will be covering that #1 issue on the channel either the next day or in the next few days later. But we will be covering it here on the channel, as well as a lot of videos that I have planned out for the channel to be coming out pretty soon as well. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of that. But the next video, guys, God bless you. Until next lesson, keep on reading those comments.